Hello everyone, and welcome to the first FlowFest of 2023, which is V4. So we started FlowFest nearly exactly a year ago, and in that time we've had such a great response. So thank you for everyone that's joined us previously and is joining us today as well. So FlowFest is sponsored by Salto and presented by Salesforce Ben, which is where I work, and also Ohanaly. So if this is your first FlowFest and you have no idea what's going on, don't worry. If this is your fourth or third or second FlowFest, this one's slightly different. So we're trying something slightly different, hopefully more exciting as a format. So I'll get started and tell you all about it. So the first thing to say is we've had such an amazing response since Eric from Ohanaly and myself started FlowFest. We've had over 5,000 people sign up to all FlowFest events, which is absolutely incredible, and over 1,400 registrations for this one alone. We've had I think we had over 500 people sign up to compete, but we've chosen 252 of them that are currently competing at the moment. So I'll tell you a bit more about how that works. We've got 8 judges behind the scenes, so you can see a few of them at the top. There's a lot of people involved in FlowFest, which I'll talk about in a second. And then of those 252 competitors, we're going to be whittling them down to 4 finalists. And out of those 4 finalists is going to be 1 champion. So before getting started, and in true Salesforce fashion, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to everyone that's working behind the scenes at FlowFest. We have Pete, Michelle, Julia, Rakesh, Melody, Yumi, Chem, Bruna, Warren, Eric, Andy, and Tom. Glad I got that right. And we have a couple of, so Yumi and Chem are actually previous FlowFest winners. I think it was V1 and V3. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes in FlowFest, including creating the challenges, doing the technical bits behind the scenes, the marketing side of things, and the judging of the competition today. So thank you to everyone that is involved behind the scenes. So before diving into how everything works, I'd just like to give a big shout out to Salto, who are our sponsor. It wouldn't be possible to put FlowFest on without our sponsor. And just to give you a bit more information about them, so I'm sure by now everyone has realized how important DevOps is becoming in the Salesforce ecosystem, both in order to deploy changes faster, but also bring more value to the businesses we work for. So Salto is more than just a DevOps platform. Their unique approach to Salesforce metadata empowers users to do much more than simple deployments. You can analyze metadata dependencies, see where fields and other metadata types are being used within an org. Some other features include the ability to compare and deploy changes, automate deployments with CI/CD. They've got a brand new way to deploy CPQ data, because we all know how tricky that is, and also edit metadata and make bulk changes. So if you're interested in trying them out, you can type in Salto into Google, or we're going to put a link in the comments. I think it's already there. So feel free to click on that, and you can try out the app for 30 days, no credit card or commitment required. So give it a go. So for those that have no idea what's going on, I'll give you a brief introduction into FlowFest. So it's a hackathon style event with 252 competitors designed to challenge, educate, and inspire you with Salesforce flows. So as you can see with this really simplistic diagram, we have a bunch of competitors that are eager to go and actually are competing at the moment. So they started about half an hour, 20 minutes ago. So they have 3 challenges to get through. And the first 4 people from those 252 competitors will go into head-to-head mode, which you'll be able to view live on screen with our commentators. And then out of those 4, the first one to complete the challenge is going to be crowned the FlowFest champion. And just to introduce myself, so my name is Ben McCarthy. I'm founder of SalesforceBen.com and also a co-founder of FlowFest. So I'm happy to be your host for the first half an hour of this event before I pass you over to our Flow commentators. So as I've just said, so we've got 3 qualifying challenges. So FlowFest officially started about 20 minutes ago for our competitors, and they're going to be working their way through 3 pretty challenging flow challenges. Every time they complete one, it's going to go to a judge to validate that it's been done in the correct way and with best practices before sending it back to them and then moving on to the next challenge. And then again, once the first 4 people that have completed those correctly and in the fastest time will move through to the head-to-head round. That's going to be live streamed. And then there's also going to be an after show after we've crowned the FlowFest champion, just to have a bit of a chat about how they found it and talk about the challenges as well. So stick around for that. So the head-to-head mode. So this is a new thing for FlowFest V4 because we wanted to give our audience a bit more insight into what is actually going on behind the scenes. We do make the challenges public, but this is after the event. And we thought it would be a lot more exciting to have this live streamed and yeah, pretty much like watching any kind of esport, right? So, you know, maybe this will be the newest thing. So this is going to happen in approximately 25 minutes. And then out of those competitors, we're going to have 1 competitor crowned the FlowFest champion. So we have prizes today. So of the top 4, of the 4 people that go to the head-to-head mode, we're going to be giving them a certification voucher. But of course, the main prize at stake here is the ability to call yourself a FlowFest champion, which is pretty coveted if I didn't say so myself. And now I'm going to bring in my co-host, Eric. Hey, Eric.
Hello, Ben. How's everything going?
Yeah, all good. Excited to kick off another FlowFest for 2023.
I'll tell you, like things are running hot right now on the back end with the competitors. We already have over 100 submissions of flows. We have a lot of activity going on and an interesting leaderboard. So,
wow, very cool. Well, I'll hand it over to yourself, Eric, just to give the audience a bit more insight into FlowFest.
Sounds good. And do I work the slides or let me jump in? I don't know if I can work these slides.
I can do it. I can do it.
All right. So hello, everyone. For those that don't know me or haven't had a chance to watch FlowFest before, my name is Eric. I am the co-founder of Ohanaly, and I'm also the senior director of CRM at a company called First Advantage. Ohanaly helps connect companies and organizations with independent consultants across the US right now. And if we can jump in through the slides. And so really quick, for those, you know, that haven't seen FlowFest before or haven't watched FlowFest before, just a quick walkthrough from a technical perspective. So how to do it in Flow, because it's just the way that we got to do it. But effectively, all of the competitors got a chance to sign up for a dev org and install a managed package, which we call the FlowFest Validator. What happens is that as they started half an hour ago, they got a list of challenges, as Ben was talking about. And what they do is that as they work these challenges, the challenges get submitted to our org. And we get a chance to review everything that they're doing. We get a chance to see if they were selecting the right records, if they got the right calculations. We can see the formulas. We can see how many times they ran loops. We can say, you know, we can take a look at all of that stuff to do a quick, fast review of what they're doing. Then ultimately, once we go through all of that and we find our top 4 that have successfully completed those 4 challenges, we will put them into head-to-head mode. Those top 4 folks will be joining our StreamYard, our live stream right here in a little bit to be able to run the final competition live while sharing their screen. And we get a chance to commentate and see how they build the final challenge and share all of that with you guys. So if we jump to the next slide. Here's just a quick look, you know, like they have all of the challenges that they install in their package has this subflow that we call the submit challenge. And effectively that comes to our screen or to our host, and we have a list, and we love some Kanban boards. So we have a list of all of these, and we have check marks, green check marks or red X's to be able to tell us if the first set of things that we want to check have come in clearly or not. The second piece is once they submit all of their challenges to us, and they've submitted them correctly and all of those check marks are marked off, they will go onto a one-on-one session with one of the judges to be able to have all of their work scrutinized to make sure that they are using the right ways, that they're using best practices, that they didn't cheat or use any shortcuts. So, and once that's done, if they get that final thumbs up, they get put in the list to be in the top 4, and they will be joining us shortly. So on the next slide, final piece here for us, equality is a pillar in Salesforce's company culture. It's a pillar of this Ohana, and we try to live up to that as well. So if 252 competitors sounded an odd number, the reason why is that we make sure to try to distribute this as much as we can to have all genders, ethnicities, countries, and even the supporting companies represented, to make sure that it doesn't get lopsided any one way. If someone, like if 10 people, if the whole company registers up front, we try to make sure that it's fair for everyone. So we don't have a specific number of folks that we're selecting, because we want to make sure that there's equality and that there's equal representation for folks of all different types from all different places. So that's just one of the big things that's important to us. So next slide. Just a couple shout out. We can see that we have 79 unique countries represented. Top 3 are the US, India, and Great Britain. We have from Canada, France, Germany, Netherlands. And then equally, we have 466 unique companies supported here, with folks from Salesforce being a big group here. So with that said, let's go to the final slide, I think. Actually, that hands it over to Andy. So as we start looking to bring Andy, I just want to say also a big thank you to everyone that's watching right now, whether they're doing a watch party at their organization. I really appreciate all you guys from jumping in, but ultimately, I want to be able to also highlight that there are some folks at Salesforce and outside of our group that we don't get a chance to mention today. You guys have no idea the amount of effort that has gone in putting these events together. And some of the Salesforce folks have been instrumental in helping put this educational event together for you guys. So I really can't thank all these folks enough, including the Trailhead Academy and a lot of the architects, some product managers and things like that, for really helping us in being able to deliver the event that hopefully you guys get to enjoy today. So Ben, back to you. You're on mute, Ben.
Thank you. Amateur hour. Yeah, cheers, Eric. I'm going to bounce responsibility for the host straight over to Andy. Hey, Andy.
Hello, everybody. I'm super excited to be presenting to you today, and I'm going to do a short presentation on flow productivity tips. So you can hear me, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You have control now, so I'll let you take it away.
Okay. So who am I? Many of you already know me, but a short introduction. I'm a consultant in the Salesforce space. I'm a content creator, educator, and as of yesterday, an MVP. And I actually push out a lot of content on Flow. And my main site is salesforcebreak.com. Everything is linked to that site, but you can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. I run a YouTube channel. And I run also a Slack workspace that's linked to salesforcebreak.com. If you get stuck on your Flow projects, you can join that space, and many people are willing to help you on that space. I run a newsletter on LinkedIn. I push out content weekly. I have several video courses available and a live course, bootcamp course that's about to start. The next cohort is starting on the 13th of March. So now let's talk about a couple of tips, productivity tips, as they relate to Flow. Now, the importance of today is we have many people competing and they want to be super fast on Flow. Now, don't worry about reading all the slide. So when I decided to present this to you, I structured my content in a way where I start with basics, and then after that, I give you a couple of tips that will actually accelerate your productivity using several tools under the Flow umbrella. So we're going to talk about a couple of things, basics, that are going to speed you up in the Flow canvas. So especially when you're trying to produce your flows over and over in high speed mode, when you're competing in FlowFest, these tips are going to help you. and then we're going to jump to async and schedule path. And then finally, I'm going to show you in a short demo how schedule triggered flow can be used for data cleanup, summarize, flatten data projects, and also possibly even changing the sharing settings through ownership and queues. So the first productivity tip that I'm going to give you is the auto layout mode. Now, there are still some people who like the freeform mode better, but I'll argue that auto layout is actually faster because you don't need to drag the elements from the left side to the canvas. You're just going to add the element with a plus sign immediately into your canvas. That actually brings you speed. Now, a small tip, when you need to add new fields to the objects and you have not remembered to do so, something that you can do is a quick refresh. You can recycle your browser, and that's going to give you that field in your picker, because your flow canvas is not going to pick that up automatically, right? The next tip is copy paste. Believe it or not, I learned about this one later in the process. There's this icon on the upper left-hand side that actually helps you copy paste things. You can select multiple elements to copy and paste in the flow canvas. And one of the recent improvements, which is super helpful, now we can cut and paste things, which is important because cut and paste does not change the naming of the element itself and the resources inside it. So, but you cannot select multiple elements to cut and paste. You have to do them one by one. So you should take advantage of the auto generation of API names. When you add an element or a component to your flow canvas, you are going to be asked to give it a name, and then your API name will auto generate. So if you have a naming convention that you follow, and if you do that right, you can actually take advantage of the auto-generated API names without having to rewrite the API name. You can use reparent paths. You can also use cut and paste functionality to take some of the elements from one of the paths that you have on the flow canvas and then move them over. Or you can also go to freeform and delete the initial path that's leading to that group of elements and then reparent those. And then one of the tips I often share and I often use, you can always save your flow as a different type of flow. You can go into your flow, and under the gear icon, you can decide to save your flow as a new flow instead of a new version. And while doing that, copy paste the name description, make the necessary modifications, and under the advanced settings, change the flow type. And once you save, eliminate the errors that you see, and then voila, you have another type of flow, right? So now let's go into the demo here, and let me show you a couple of more advanced things, right? So I've run a poll recently on LinkedIn, and I asked my followers whether an object selection is required under schedule triggered flow or not. And the responses were split 50-50. Half of the people got that question wrong because many people do not use the schedule path or the schedule triggered flows that often. And that's normal. And that's why I'm bringing this up. But before I go to schedule triggered flow, let me just show you this functionality under record triggered flows. We have async and the schedule path options under record triggered flows. And these actually come in quite handy when you need to do sizable processes and procedures under your record triggered flow. Remember, the order of operations requires that every automation related to that record change, whether it's a create or update, is going to execute all the triggers that are tied to that object altogether in one transaction. Whether they are Apex, workflow rules, process builders, or multiple flows, they are going to all run in one transaction. And there could be cases where you actually want to lighten that load because you're experiencing issues, like whether they are performance problems or governance limits, it doesn't really matter. So let's look at this flow. What this flow does is it's a record triggered flow that triggers on an account update whenever the account is marked as inactive, right? And it's an after save flow. And all it's doing is it's closing all the cases that are related to the account. And it's also marking the opportunities closed last, but there could be many records that actually fall under this umbrella. And there could be situations where you may actually want to run this under a synchronous path. So in the normal scenario, under your start element, you don't have this activated, so you don't see the asynchronous path, right? So you can go in here, you can add the asynchronous path, and then you can move these elements using the cut and paste functionality to the right side. And then you can save this one as a new version and activate it, right? Voila. So what you have here is the transactions that fall under this record triggered flow, they are all going to be run as a separate transaction following the original transaction, whether it's a create or update. So it is not going to be executed together with all the other triggers, but it is going to separate out as a different transaction. It's kind of like, writing a Post-it note and handing it to your colleague for them to perform a transaction for you just immediately after you do whatever you need to do, right? So it has its advantages. The one thing that's interesting about this one is the context and the user context doesn't change here. So the modified by is going to be the user who actually created or updated that record. In this case, it's an update. So there's actually another thing that you can do. If you don't want to use asynchronous, what you can do is you can actually go in here and you can add another schedule path. And you can add this path to run 1 minute later than the original one. When the account is updated, 1 minute later, 1 minute after. And now you have actually another way of performing the transaction a little later than the original transaction. And for this one, I'm going to save this one as a new flow, as a new version, and go to freeform and reparent this one. Show you the other way of doing this, right? I'm going to drag this path here, and I'm going to choose the 1 minute later path. Save, go back to auto layout. Now I have all the transactions happening under 1 minute later. So I'm going to go back into my start element and deactivate the asynchronous path. And now all these transactions are going to be happening 1 minute later as a separate transaction again. It will schedule, but this time the user context is going to be the default process automation user. And in most cases, that's your system administrator. Right, now moving along to the one more advanced example here. And probably we're not going to have enough time to go through all the details here, but I'm just going to give you the idea. If you follow the weekly newsletter in my blog, I'm going to also publish the details about this. So the question related to my poll, we don't really have to choose an object when we schedule a schedule triggered flow. So we can schedule a schedule triggered flow to run every night and then do certain things for us. So this one particular schedule triggered flow is going to run tonight, almost at midnight. And then it doesn't have any criteria associated with it. It's going to perform all these tasks. And what this is doing is it's getting all the cases. First, it's getting actually a daily summary record. That's what it's going to create. It's a summary record, kind of like a reporting functionality. It's going to check the previous record date and time, and then it's going to get all the cases in New York. We got to make sure that we don't have more than 50,000 cases, or we have to define criteria for a time interval. And then we are going to filter the cases that are created today, modified today, and then closed on that day. And then we are going to also get filter all the open cases and loop through them. And while looping through them, because we got all the cases sorted by creation date, we're going to start with the oldest case that's open. And then we are going to calculate an average weight for all the cases that are open and create our daily summary record. And what's that going to give us is a record daily that's going to show and take the snapshot of our operations here. Now, some of this can be granted done with reports and report snapshots, but there could be situations where we want to do it this way. And then you're going to see here, I have created a daily summary record that shows the number of open cases, count of cases created, modified, and opened on that day, and maximum wait in hours on the open cases, and the average wait on the open cases. So those are my tips for today. But before I leave you, I want to make a special request and a plea here. Most of you know I'm from Turkey, and Turkey got hit with a big earthquake. So if you have the power to do so, I actually ask you to donate for Turkey. And you can do so by pointing your phone here to this QR code. And if you do so, please make sure to go to salesforcebreak.com, fill out a contact me form, and also paste the thank you email that you get from Akut, because you are going to get my Flow Basics course for free. I will respond to you with a code. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. That's all for me, Ben.
Hey, Ben. There we go.
Yeah. Thank you much. Thanks so much, Andy, for the presentation and for highlighting what's going on in Turkey, because it's devastating. So, hopefully we can get a few donations here today. And congrats on your MVP as well.
Thank you.
Well deserved. So congrats. We'll see you in a bit. All right. So next up, we're going to have a word from our sponsor, Solto. So I'm going to be bringing Pablo into the conversation. Solto is super relevant for working with flows, just because of the complexity of metadata behind the scenes. So Pablo, I believe you're going to give us some insights into how Solto can help.
Yeah. Can you see my screen and can you hear me and see me?
Sure can. You're not on mute.
Great. Okay. Well, so first of all, my name is Pablo. I'm a Salesforce architect at Salto, and thanks a lot, Salesforce Ben and Ohanaly, for letting us sponsor this event. So as Ben said earlier, Salto is not another DevOps product. We do things very different. And so I wanted to show you today what the experience like is for deploying a flow using Salto. Because flows, if you have any experience deploying them, their metadata can be very complex. It can be huge, hard to understand. And so we try to simplify that process with Salto. So I'll show you a very basic example here where I have one assignment in my flow. And what I want to do is I want to add a new assignment. So I'm just going to click there. And now I have a new assignment where the account number of the record is going to equal another field, which is called calculated age. And let's say that's it. That's the change I did. I did it in my dev sandbox or in UAT, and now I want to deploy this to production. So let's go ahead and go over to Salto. So here in the Salto UI, I can easily select that, okay, I want to deploy from my dev environment to production. Then if I click compare and deploy, what Salto does is it calculates all the differences between my two Salesforce orgs. So as you can see here, I have a table with everything that's different across these two orgs, and I can easily just go by and see what is new in production, what has modified, or what doesn't exist in production. In this case, I'm only interested in deploying flows. So I'm going to go over here and, whoops, sorry about that. Oh, look at that, a live demo that doesn't work. I may need to refresh the screen. Sorry about that. Let me try again. Yep. Okay, so I will have to reload this completely. So if you give me a second, I'll show you another screen of Salto there where you can actually see what the impact analysis looks like for custom fields. That's another feature that we have. But just give me a second so I can show this again. And let's hope that it works this time. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah, Ben, I'm going to share a different screen if that's okay.
All good.
So I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. And how can I share my screen again? Let me.
You just share
here,
it.
yeah. Send share screen. Live demos.
Be a live event without some sort of issue. So
yeah, I know it's okay. I'm used to it, but let's see. Just a second.
Just a short update from the event. I believe we have our 4 head-to-head competitors. So, hey, Eric.
We do. Just as a heads up for everyone, I have not had a chance to refresh this in a minute. Let's take a look. But we have our competitors. We have a lot of submissions. For those that are watching FlowFest for more than the first time, we already have our 3 challenges. People are taking it curiously. They're taking it out of order, but we already have about at least 26 folks that have submitted all 3 challenges, and out of that, we have conclusively found our top 4. So they'll be joining us soon for our head-to-head challenge. So,
Very cool.
It'll be exciting to kick this off in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
So stay tuned as we start sharing some screens.
So I'm ready to go on.
All right.
Okay, you can see my screen again.
Yep, all good.
Yeah. Just to note that actually wasn't Salto. I'm using a demo software. If I was using Salto, that wouldn't have happened. But I thought by using a demo software, I would avoid any live demo issues. But here we are. So anyway, here on this screen, I can see everything that's changed. So I'm only interested in flows. So I'm going to select flows here, and then I can see this flow where I made that change. If I click on that flow, the way Salto represents the flow metadata is a lot easier. Again, you may have seen flow metadata in XML. It's really big files. Here I can see everything in a document-like format. And you can see very quickly, I can see this whole section is in green, which basically means that this is what's new about this flow, right? I added a new assignment where I assigned the calculated age field to the account number. And again, this looks much better than what you would look at this if you're using something like GitHub, right? So if I go here and I see the exact same change, you see that in something like GitHub or GitLab, it's just not that intuitive because I actually don't know what I'm looking at. It's just a bunch of XML and it's not too clear. Now, if I go back to Salto, again, I can select the change that I want to deploy. And when I select that, Salto actually lets me know that there is a missing dependency. So it turns out there's something that I need in order to deploy this flow. So if I click on this, it's basically telling me that the calculated age field also doesn't exist in production. So I need to include that in before I can deploy the flow. So if I click on that, the screen actually reloads and shows me another field. And that's because the calculated age field turns out to be a formula field that references another field. So Salto is very smart at keep finding those dependencies so that you can deploy everything in one go. So I'm going to select that field. Now I have everything in order to deploy that flow. So I can go here to preview deployment. Salto is just making sure that all the metadata of that flow is valid. And once the validation happens, then we have a pre-deployment overview, which is basically just a summary of everything that's going to be deployed. So again, we see the flow here with 2 changes and the account object with 2 changes, which are the custom fields that I added. And again, look at the account object. It's a lot easier than reading this in XML. So once I'm ready, once I'm happy with this overview, I can just click deploy. Salto is going to do its thing, and eventually you're going to get that flow into production. So that's it. Hopefully you can see that the experience of deploying a complex flow with dependencies is a lot easier with Salto. So we're going to share the URL to sign up on the chat there. You have a 30-day trial where you can try this out for free. You don't need a credit card or anything. And after the 30 days, you revert back to our free tier, which has a lot of really cool impact analysis capabilities, such as being able to see where fields are being used, where flows are being used. So you get value from either tier. So that's it. Thank you, Ben.
Ben, your mute is working against you today, my friend.
Just going to ignore that. So where are we at, Eric?
We have found our finalists. We have all of our top 4. We are just wrapping up on our side, sending them the instructions to jump here. So from our side, we have 4 different countries. And ironically enough, we have 2 of the countries are the 2 countries that have won the FlowFest titles. So we're not doing a quiz this time, unfortunately, but to remind everyone, FlowFest V1 was won by Israel. FlowFest V2 was France. FlowFest V3, France. And 2 of our finalists that are going to be jumping in a second are going to be from France and Israel. They're going to be joined also by someone from the United States and also by someone from Italy. So we got a pretty good crowd. We're trying to get everyone just to come in on StreamYard right now to get everyone set up. And we should be good to go in just a short bit. So,
sounds great, and yeah, very funny to see that those 2 countries keep popping up. I don't know what is it with those countries in Flow. They teach it in school or something.
If anyone's looking for good talent, apparently open an office in France or Israel. That might be your place because that's where everyone is. But we'll see. Maybe someone from the US or Italy have something to say about that. I will jump out for 2 seconds just to get things going, and we'll hopefully be able to be back and kick off the head-to-head in a couple of minutes.
Great. See you in a sec, Eric. So that concludes the first part of FlowFest. So we did it slightly differently last time. We had, I think it was about 4 presentations, which were all fantastic, complete with quizzes and things like that. But we're going to try out the head-to-head this time to give you some flow action and see how these wizards are actually putting together these flow challenges. Last time we did FlowFest V3. It's a learning process for us, right? You know, this putting together flow challenges is kind of a new thing. But the V3 was seriously hard. Like only one person made it through, and I think it was about an hour, right, or something. It was over an hour for them to complete it, all 4 challenges. So, yeah, let's see how they fare with this one.
So this one, we put quite a lot of thought. We took our learning lessons on this one with the challenges. So for everyone that may remember, or those folks that don't remember, we did kind of have some pretty tough challenges on V3. This one is a longer challenge than the first 3 that competitors have encountered. However, we're working on common functionalities, and in particular, we're doing a lot of things that have been out as recent as winter 23. So when we first started FlowFest, we were intending to do like a FlowFest every 3 months. But someone had the much brighter idea, and I think that was Warren Walters, who also just became an MVP yesterday. And so a big shout out to Warren, who's working magic in our competitor room to manage everyone along. But this time around, we're going to be doing challenges that are going to invoke a lot of Winter 23 knowledge. So from our side, it's going to be pretty exciting, and we should be able to kick it off in a minute or 2. I already see 3 of our competitors in, and we're waiting for 1 more, and we should be able to kick it off. So give me 1 minute just so I can send some messages and instructions, and I will be right back for everyone.
All right, we should be good to go in just a second. So as Eric said, I can see 3 people in the studio, and I think we're waiting on 1 commentator to join Eric and 1 more challenger. So please bear with us a second while we just get everything organized.
So I will jump in back here just because this is a first time for everything. I'm just going to go ahead and share one of our participants, Adam, who I believe is all the way from Israel. I'm just sharing here. Adam, we get to see your screen. I just want to make sure. So for everyone looking, here's what we're going to be looking at as we get started. So I will share Simon also. We're going to keep these folks off screen right now because these folks are going to be busy competing. So I see Simon is there. Simon is shaking it around. And then we also have John. So actually, let's just make a quick introduction. John Chen from the United States, representing United States, representing CRM Science. This is John Chen's screen. We'll be jumping in. Then also we have Adam Palmer, like I mentioned, from Israel. And I believe the company he's representing over here. Added you 1 second, Adam. All the way from Freightos. Then we have, let's see. We have one, I'm bringing Andy in. We have Simon. So Simon Lafont from representing France and Sofacto. And then finally, we have Simone that's jumping in. Just posting. And Simone is representing PwC all the way over from Italy. So this is we're about to get started here. What I will do, perhaps to kick it off. So, and hey, Andy is going to 2 more times for Simons to win. Yeah, twice the chance for Simons to win. That is correct. So Simone, if you can share your screen so that way we can kind of get this ready to kick off. And then to everyone that's listening, to even the top four competitors that we have here, I will share the final challenge with you guys shortly. For the competitors in particular, this is going to be the same exact way that we shared the first 3 challenges. It'll be a PDF link that I will share with you guys privately here. And you guys will get a chance to take a look and get started. So, Simona, I still need you to share your screen, but in the sense of kicking this off. Yep, I got Simona's screen coming up. Simona, if you can make sure to share your flow, but I do get to see your full window there. And I'm also bringing Pete as the final commentator as we kick this off. So, gentlemen, in a couple of seconds, I am going to paste here, and then I will bring it on screen also so we can talk about it to get started. Gentlemen, I will start in 3, 2, 1. If you can check your private chat, you should have the link to the challenge. And I will actually start first as my colleagues here, Andy and Pete. How are you two doing right now?
Surprisingly tense. This gets me so excited. I normally, like in my day-to-day life, I take a moment and think, but this is just very fast.
Yeah, it's action-paced. So for everyone that's watching, I'm going to share the same challenges. This is what our competitors are looking at literally right now with the links that we've provided to them. So this is the challenge that we're having them for the final challenge. The leadership at Universal Containers, Eternally Universal Containers, has asked of the admins, of the competitors, to provide a weekly recap screen flow that details out all of the overall stats about current opportunities that need to be used on the home page. So this is basically going to be a summary flow that requires a lot of clever information. There might be a lot of tricks here for that, for our flow experts to show some shortcuts. We want them to be able to display the total number of opportunities in the company, how many open opportunities they have, how many closed-won opportunities they have, the average deal size for the closed-won opportunities, and then the total count of opportunities that are above, that the amount of those opportunities are above the average amount of closed-won opportunities. If that's not enough, we're then going to ask them to inspire some of the sales folks by doing a table of only the top 5 opportunities of all time, open or closed, based on opportunity amounts. So basically then they have to also show a second list of the top 5 accounts that sorted by annual revenue that do not have any open opportunities, and they need to do this within the Flow canvas. They cannot go into a roll-up summary field or anything like that to try to help them out. They have to do all of this within the Flow canvas. So once they're done, they will have to submit us some information. So with that, Andy, Pete, I'll pass it to you for a quick second. And also let's go ahead and try to see what our competitors are doing. I'll start here with Simone, who already he's running a couple of get records here. Andy, Pete, we have, see that over here. Let's see what else. Simone for Italy. He's getting started. Also some get records. We see that he's doing a sort on a couple of on whatever it is that he's getting, going straight for a data table. Let's see what else we got. What else we got?
I love that feature.
Yes, the data table is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm so glad they finally productized it.
Here is a question, Pete, for you. You are a content creator as well. So can you talk and write at the same time? Because I can't. I have to take turns.
Only if I'm talking about what I'm writing, or sometimes I'll actually do this, like this thing where like I have the sentence I'm trying to type queued up in my head, and I can kind of listen and like, you know, hold on to that phrase in memory. It's horribly ineffective, and I don't recommend trying it.
Okay, and another question. If you could listen to yourself at any speed, which speed would that be on YouTube?
I have a good answer for that. So when I edit my videos, one, I hate hearing recordings of myself because the only word I can hear is but I will review my I'll typically review my own recordings 3 to 4 times before I actually post them, just because of just healthy natural paranoia. I'm usually listening to them at double speed.
Okay, so let's go back to the challenge at hand. Yeah, what?
No, go ahead, Andy. Take it away.
No, I was just gonna say. So we see now. Whose screen is this, Eric? Can we tell from the image, or?
So I can tell you this is John Chen representing the U.S. here.
Okay, so we have actually a couple of filters here, right?
Yeah, he seems to be moving pretty quick. Let me switch the layout also to give everyone a little bit of a better view. There we go. This might help everyone to take a look at it. So we're getting to see a couple of things. I mean, John here is jumping for a couple of filters. He's assigning the number of opportunities. So it's kind of interesting. He didn't go for a lot of get records. You know, so Andy, why would you want to use filter instead of just running a couple of different get records for, you know, one for the total opportunities, one for the open opportunities, one for the closed one? I mean, what's the big difference here?
Okay, let's talk about that a little bit. So we have actually a couple of limitations related to get records, right? So first of all, we only can get 100. We can only execute 100 gets or SQLs in one transaction, right? So we can do 150 DMLs, which is very interesting for me. You can actually write to the database 150 times, but you can only read 100 times, right? So in the end, you want to use your gets and in DMLs, like, you know, creates, updates, whatever, sparingly. You can be building less than that into your flow, but especially if you're building them into loops, you don't know how many times they are going to run. You don't know whether there are other flows, process builders, workflows, or Apex performing some kind of SQL. So the best way to do it is possibly and potentially get it only one single time, and then use now these wonderful elements that the product team gave us called the collection filter, collection sort, right? So those are one thing that's not widely known is the collection sort has a maximum number of items returned setting, which is extremely helpful. Sometimes you can just sort to also get a limited number of records, right? So that's extremely helpful. One thing you need to be watching for, and I think I touched on that in my presentation a tiny bit, is your get cannot return more than 50,000 records. So if you think you are going to be getting more than 50,000 records, you have to play with the criteria, you have to tighten the interval, you have to do something about it, because you are going to hit an error and limitation.
And one thing there, Andy, or maybe Pete, I'll switch it to you. So I saw that John in particular, I'll switch it over to see how our other competitors are doing. But I saw that John in particular used an equals count, right? Which is a kind of nifty feature because sometimes people may just want to loop. And bringing over Andy's point of limits, we used to have a 2,000 iteration limit, which I believe that went away now with Spring 23. But should you say now, is it fair game now to say, hey, can I just use loops and just loop forever because there's no iteration limit? Or should I still use equal count? Like, tell us a little bit about, for everyone that's watching, on what's going on.
So there's best practice, and then there's what actually can be done. I would definitely recommend error on the side of adhering to best practice. So earlier to the point, well, this is a screen flow. So, I've got up to 100 queries. I can do as many gets as I want. Well, you don't know what other operations are happening. And you have to think about the poor developer in 2, 3, 4 years that's going to have to add on to this and is then going to have to refactor and optimize your flow because you didn't do it right in the first place. Similarly, recently, and not every year, but some years I participate in an event called Advent of Code. It's a language agnostic challenge that is relatively Christmas themed, and I like to use unorthodox tools for it, such as flows and CRM analytics. And for one of these challenges, basically I had to create a grid of rooms and then drop little grains of sand through them. I was able to use a screen flow to create 4,500 records in a single push and get them all iterating over numbers and such. But even though I built my flow in a way that it wouldn't, I had a loop counter that would basically say, how many times have I gone through this? I multiplied it out. I knew I wasn't going to hit the 2,000 limit, but now I have the real limit that the 2,000 node count was kind of trying to spiritually enforce, which is the apex limit of CPU timeout error. So even though you have as many nodes as you want, looping is significantly less performant than equals count, which is just aggregating the results of that get. Always try to find the most efficient tool for the job. So to the point earlier that you made, no, you can't go into setup and create a roll-up summary. Well, in practice, maybe that is the more efficient answer. Why wouldn't you be doing that? Maybe we've already got 20. Maybe we already put in a support ticket to get 30 or 40, and we're just like, no, we're done with the roll-up summaries here. Or maybe we don't want the last modified data, that parent record, getting stamped every time the roll-up gets recalculated. But regardless, once you have your requirement that you're going to do this in a flow, try to find the most efficient method. And there's diminishing returns. You're never going to make things too perfect. But I would strongly argue equals count on a collection variable is going to be far more performant than looping. And that's less time that your user's going to be staring at a load spinner waiting to get their result.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you there. I switched it over to one of the competitors, and I saw that they were trying to put in the API name with spaces, and on the data table that catches me all the time at the top, and then he had to backtrack and erase the spaces. But let me bring in also Tom here. What's good, Tom?
Yep, all good, thanks. Yeah, how's it going?
So to everyone that's watching, Tom was one of the judges just now. So both Pete as well as one of the judges. So as we're wrapping up with some of our judging responsibilities, as we knocked out the top 4, some of the folks will be jumping in. So Tom, would you tell us a little bit about what you saw so far?
A few different things. I think for anybody that didn't know, is closed is a thing on the case object and the opportunity object, and you can use that within your flow just in case you've got more than one closed status. I think that's a little bit of insight I was able to share with others today, so that was great. Yeah,
that's good stuff. So did you get a chance, Tom, to look at the final challenge before we started today? I know this was last minute for you.
Yeah,
it's all good
today. Yeah.
It's all good. So I'm seeing here, I'm looking at one of our competitors just kind of like as an observation. So I see that there's a couple of, like, he's adding a filter right now, but I also saw that he started a loop to create a text string. So for everyone watching, so this is one of the interesting things. One of the requirements is that you have to be able to get your top 5 accounts without open opportunities. And something that's exciting for Winter 23 that got released in Winter 23 is the in and not in operator. And one of y'all, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the in and not in operator is only available on the get element right now. But either way, so effectively, what he might be doing here is that, so he's getting all the open opportunities. He is looping through the open opportunities and building a text collection, basically for a bucket, right, where they're dropping in all of the open opportunities. And what they're hoping to do is to be able to what I'm assuming we'll see, maybe use that in some way with an in or a not in operator to say, hey, give me all of the accounts that, that accept or not including or excluding these particular ones, right? So a lot of interesting things going on here. Andy, Pete, Tom, I'm happy to jump around, see if you guys want to call out anything interesting that you're seeing in particular, just switching screens a little bit as well.
So
yeah,
Just just wanted to jump in to just say in and not in available in get records, update records, and delete records elements.
perfect.
So I get that the participant that we're watching they're under the gun, they're in a rush. Provided they had time, I would expect that they would come and clean this back up. But I notice sometimes they're putting spaces in their variable names where it's like my space variable space names. Other times they had to do like get underscore total underscore ops to remove and correct for that error because data table doesn't like that. Sometimes they're calling them opties. Sometimes they're calling them ops. Whatever your naming convention is, there's no rules out there saying how you have to name things. Personally, I prefer opti over ops. I like camel case. That's how I roll. But be consistent and have that kind of, fingerprint to your work, because the main thing to remember, you will not be the last person that touches this. Someone will have to come back and build upon your work. Even if that's you're not going to remember what you were doing. Now, I will give this participant the benefit of the doubt. They're literally under the gun right now. They want to win this competition. A little bit of mess is okay, provided they get the right answer. But for those of you watching, adhere to best practice and be consistent in your naming conventions.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, we're definitely in a rush here. We were running some test examples ourselves as we're testing some of these challenges out. And it was kind of crazy. It was like, we were just kind of like, we just named whatever, like, like TXT high, like whatever. And we're just like kind of flying through this. So yes, that's a really good call out, Pete, because we want to make sure that
you've seen some of the Saturday morning messes when we're playing around with this stuff.
Oh, let's bring in both of our MVPs here. We're bringing in Andy back, and we're bringing Warren back as well.
Hey.
Warren not back. Warren's coming in for the first time. Recent MVP Warren Walters right here. So
You're playing me up too much. Come on, man.
Absolutely not. For anyone that doesn't know, check out his content. It's a lot of great stuff, just like Andy does. It is well deserved for all the stuff that you guys do. So
Much appreciate it, and honored by the community to be selected as an MVP. So super cool stuff there.
I'm just going to cycle. I'll let you guys pick a talking point here, anything in observation. I'm going to cycle through our colleagues and see how they're coming along. See if there's anyone that looks close to finishing. John Chen here looks pretty interesting so far. It's tough because we don't see the full screen as I'm just going to make an observation. Everyone's in auto layout. So, as a fan of auto layout, everyone here seems to be in auto layout. I'm just going to make that slight observation. Team auto layout all the way.
You have the right to your preference.
Yeah, I will say when auto layout was first coming out, I was a hater, right? Like I wanted everything to be organized in where I wanted it to be. Nobody tells me where to put my elements, but as I've gone on and built more flows, like auto layout just works, and I think it's a really good addition. So I'm now have been converted to an auto layout fan.
Yeah,
And
I was
going to say, an auto layout helps in this competition because copy paste, the cut and paste, and all these things, like you don't get that in the free form. So, at least if you're going to be competing at a future FlowFest, auto layout is probably your best friend right here. At least that's my opinion. I don't know if any of you are welcome to argue that out.
Actually, I think an interesting question here. When auto layout first came out, there were certain configurations, I guess you would say, that weren't supported with auto layout. Are there still any functional gaps? Because usually that's like kind of my go-to of, well, why am I not using the latest and greatest of Salesforce? Well, the only reason I wouldn't use the new thing would be if it doesn't do what the old thing did. Do any of those gaps still exist?
Yeah, one of them is if you're in the old style flow builder, if you had a step element, that's not supported in auto layout. And I think there is one more kind of limitation there where something isn't explicitly supported in auto layout. Yeah,
I kind of miss that step layout. So what Tom's referring to, for anybody who's not familiar with this, in the pre-Lightning Designer, the Cloudflow builder that was built on Shockwave Flash, we had a node that was just called step. And it basically, all you could really do is put in a name and a description. And it was kind of like a placeholder for, I don't know what I'm going to do here yet. I really liked it in concept, but it prevented you couldn't activate flows if anything existed in that node. So, and this was before we had like in Canvas debugging. And so it was kind of like dead in the water. You couldn't really go anywhere with it. But part of me always wants to bring that back. I'll use assignment nodes that I'll create like a variable called debug text or debug number, and I'll assign something to that if I want to know, like, hey, is this formula working right? But yeah, I miss the step node, but it never really did what it should have been doing.
So I'm going to bring this back here. I want to get everyone's opinion here. So this is something that's interesting that one of our competitors is currently working on. So he's looking for the top 5, and he's putting a decision element inside a loop to find the top 5 accounts. Now, Pete, I know you've created a couple of fake loops with decision elements before, and you kick it out of that loop once you hit that. Is that the way to go? Is anyone?
This is not quite what I do. So I would argue that at a certain point in time, this may have been best practice. At a certain point in time, this may have been necessary. If you're looping over things, for example, I want to see the top 5 opportunities by amount. I would sort my collection variable, descending by amount. I would loop through. I would have a loop counter, and each after, I'd say check this op, then say, is my loop counter less than or equal to 5? If so, add the op to the list. If not, if not, just keep going. And then also the important part is increment the counter by 1. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with incrementation counters. Knowing which, numerically which record you're on in a loop has some real potential. But I would actually argue that in this case, it's far more effective to use some of the new functionality that's being rolled out to us. The real deciding factor, though, is this competitor going to be able to use the solution they've chosen to win the competition? So a lot of times it's about, does it look like a duck? Does it quack like a duck? Therefore, it must be a duck.
Right.
So, but I would say there's better ways to handle that now.
So one of the interesting ways to kind of bring it up, I don't know if anyone caught on. Now I switch over to Simone, and Simone has gone in a different way. Did anyone catch the element that he used here?
Didn't see it, but did he filter or order his records?
So he's using a sort. So he's using
that's
a sort
what I would do
here.
Yes. Well,
Andy, why would you use? Tell me why would you use a sort?
Yeah. Before I get to that, though, let me do a couple of reminders. Like realizing many of our observers right now have not had the opportunity to touch some of these collection operators, I'm sure, like the elements, right? So there are a couple of interesting things about these, right? For collection filter, when you use a collection filter, you input a collection, right? You actually get a collection out. There's an output collection that gets created. Now, when you use a collection sort, collection sort modifies the input collection. It does not auto-create another collection. You know, when I first started using this, it was a little bit counterintuitive for me, but you just got to keep that in mind. Now, I use the collection sort quite a bit where I don't even need the sort that much, because when I'm getting all the records, I have already sorted the way I want it. But, you know, I just limit the number of members in the collection. I'd say I want the top one, I want the top 5. Another important reminder for the people who are not very familiar with handling collections, let's say you did a collection sort and you just wanted the top in that list, right? You know, whether it's the most recently modified or the top with the top amount and whatever. And you ended up with one record. That's still a collection. In the flow, you still have to loop at least once to get that record out. You cannot refer to the field values.
Yeah, that's a good point there. Now, one thing that I just want to also highlight, since you're bringing up some good points, Andy. So we did go over all of our competitors, and this to all the competitors during a housekeeping rule session. So while this is a time-based competition and you see these guys just moving around at breakneck speed to build these flows right in front of your eyes, what we're trying to do is that we want to make sure that we're building, examples that are close to real life scenarios. So this scenario could very easily be something that management team could ask for. Now, one of the big things that, even though we are in a competition, we told everyone, you know, it's about who finishes first, but it's about who finishes first correctly. So I see a lot of these guys actually, as I'm scrolling through, I see a lot of these guys going back to things that they've started with, they have finished, and they're going back to and trying to add that extra bit of detail that maybe when they were reading the instructions, they didn't quite catch, right? Maybe an example like they showed the top 5 accounts, but they didn't filter out the open opportunities. So we put a couple of things in there. You know, we sprinkled some spice in there to try to make sure that that folks are paying attention. So this may play a factor when it's time to start reviewing these flows. As we start getting, by the looks of it, it looks like we're in the final stages here, because I see a lot of the elements already back in, back as I switch from one to the other. So.
And one more reminder, Eric, about the auto layout mode. With the latest release, we got a wonderful feature. Once we write a description into one of our elements, we get like a little bubble with a hover over. And that's only available in auto layout for auto layout fans.
You know what?
At least for now.
I didn't notice that was only an auto layout, and once I saw that on some of the challenges, I was a big fan of it. So once again, being another fan of auto layouts, or another reason to use auto layouts.
That might be a not so subtle hint that they want you to use auto layout.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
It definitely.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it definitely helps somebody else who's then picking up your flow or something errors when you're on holiday or something, to explain your kind of, not necessarily moment of madness, but what you were trying to achieve there. Somebody else can easily pick it up. They can glance at it and say, okay, this collection sort is doing this. I don't need to click into it anymore. I can just hover and see what's happening. Yeah.
So I was just trying to squint and see their error.
All right. Let me stop everyone right now. So we have someone here. We have someone ready. So let us take a look. Other competitors, continue onwards if you're still finishing. But and once you're done, please let us know in the private chat. But Adam, sorry, Simon. I got it mistaken. Simon. All right. So Simon, now we're looking at your flow here. Simon, I'm going to bring you to the stream so that way we can ask you a question or two as we're going. We have John already here, so also finished. So we're going to review this one live. So Simon, adding you to the stream. Hi, Simon, welcome. And can you run the debug for us? And I have my screen here with the expected numbers. We're curious to see what that final, what that screen looks like with the populated values. Are you ready for us?
Yeah, hi everyone. I have to share my wall screen.
Yep, let's bring it up.
Yes.
And then John, I see that you're also ready. So we'll take a look at Simon's first, and then we'll also bring yours along if for whatever reason. All right. Could you zoom in a little bit for us so we can take a look? All right. So we have. Ooh, I think I see one. Wait, no, maybe. Let's see what we got. 150 opportunities is correct. 96 open opportunities is correct. 34 closed won opportunities is correct. Average deal size. That's 52,308 with 82 cents. That is correct. Total count of opportunities whose amount is greater than the average, 16. I do not agree with that. I do not have that number. But let's keep going. I will just take a look at it here. Top 5 opportunities. Joseph LLC is correct. Franklin Group is correct. Stones and Sons Group is correct. O'Brien PLC is correct. Keith Frankel PLC is correct. And then with the account names by revenue. Oh, I see a mistake here right at the bat. Gentry PLC is not correct. The account type is others. So this will open the door. This opens the door for John. So John,
there's an
if you have
opportunity.
your screen ready, we're gonna Simon. I'll take you out here for a second. I'm gonna bring John in, and we're gonna get a chance to do this with John. And let's give it a look. So John,
Ooh, exciting.
Where is John? I am bringing you on the stream. You can take yourself out of mute if you'd like. And let's take a look at your screen. Can you run the debug for us, please? And you may have to reshare your screen as you run your debug. If you're ready for a review, we want to take a look at your debug, and we want to see what that looks like when you execute this. Simon, if you get a chance to fix what was missing,
give me 1 sec.
You can let us know whenever it's ready for review. To all competitors, again, we're bringing this back to you. Once you're ready to review, make sure to comment on our private chat so we can have the order of operations. But this is getting exciting, my friends.
It's very close. It's very close.
What's going on here? We're making changes. I thought this was ready for review. Is this John? You mentioned?
We're gonna have to put you back in the queue, John.
Yeah, we're going to have to put you back at the queue. Are you ready, John?
Yes.
John,
do I have to share the other tab?
Yes.
Yes, you have to share the debug. So let's go ahead. If you can share the debug tab, and let's take a look. All right, can you zoom in for us? Ooh, I already see total number of ops at 34. I'm not sure that is correct. Closed won ops 34 is correct. I see there, but open ops 96 is correct. Average deal size 52. That is correct. Total count of opportunities over average amount is 68. That is correct. You have one number wrong so far. The opportunities, Joseph LLC is correct. Franklin Group is correct. Stones and Sons is correct. O'Brien's PLC is correct. Keith Frankel is correct. Account names, it seems like you have things correctly, but it's the sort order is not correct. Unfortunately, your sort order is that what? Wait, what's going on here? The data looks correct here. So let's see, wait, 6. You have an extra account or two that I don't have. So can we switch back to the screen? So I'll tell you right now. So for one, I'm okay with this, but your total number of ops is incorrect. So we have to send you back because that is not, you cannot have 34 opportunities in your entire org and have 96 closed won or however many closed won. So that is incorrect. Simon is ready again. Simon, are you ready?
After a check.
Simon, are you ready for this?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know if it's Simon or Simon. I don't know if the pronunciation is absolutely horrible.
I don't care.
Okay, so long as we win, that is all that matters. All right, let's zoom in and let's take a look. Total number of opportunities is 150. That is correct. Open opportunities is 96. That is correct. We have ops. All of that is correct. We checked all of that. You have the top 5 opportunities. It is Joseph Franklin, Stones and Sons, O'Brien, Keith Franco. That is correct. Then on the top 5 accounts, we have O'Brien, Hancock Santos, Santiago, Norman, Copeland Group. That is correct. You have gotten this challenge correct. This is the correct challenge. My friends, Simon, Simon, you are the FlowFest champion, my friend. And as surprising as it is to say this, France for the 3rd time in a row.
No way.
For the 3rd time in a row, France takes it, my friend. That is awesome. I'm going to stop the screen share here for 1 second. I'm going to bring all of our colleagues back in. Ben, if you want to jump in, whoever wants to jump in. But to all the other competitors, if you're interested in jumping in, just let me know. I'm happy to bring you guys. I want to make sure that you guys get a chance to be recognized as well. But Simon, congratulations. What did you think? Tell us.
Yeah, this is my 2nd time trying the FlowFest. In the first time, so V3 was not judged, so I was here like really cool. I know how it's working, but no stress. And it was very, very fast, very interesting, and a huge final. I'm really happy.
Yeah, dude, that's exciting. Look, I don't know. Anyone jump in? Don't let me be the only one here.
Just congratulations, and I'm blown away. France again, right?
That's full of Eric's spot. But one of the most important things about winners is that it's more people to help us and distribute the workload for FlowFest V5.
Yeah, there must be something in the water that actually comes off the springs in the mountains of France or something. I don't know. Perrier has some automation juice in it.
I think the community is great in France. I'm part of the community. I'm a kind of leader in south of France, and we do a lot of group together in France. So with all the like 7 or 9 group in France. And it's really awesome community for Salesforce in France.
Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. It seems like it. We have to make it to France. What's the local community conference? French
Touch Dreaming.
Yeah.
There we go. All right, we got to see if we can host. We got to see if we can host like an in-person FlowFest competition at French Touch Dreaming. That would probably be a really interesting one to live stream with all the French competitors there. So, Adam, welcome, and John, welcome as well. So both of you guys, John from the US, Adam all the way from Israel. I was concerned too because I was like, Israel and France are back in the finals. Like this is like these are our two countries on 4 FlowFests have been France and Israel. So, Adam, what'd you think?
This was great. Wow, this was fantastic. Simon, well earned, man. That last challenge definitely threw me for a few loops, if I could say so. Yeah, a lot of fun. I also was in a previous FlowFest and did not get nearly to the finals. So it feels really good to be here. And thank you so much for a great event, really, everybody who was involved.
Yeah, of course. And what'd you think of the new format? Is this something that you guys enjoyed? Is it, head-to-head? Was that exciting? How was it for you guys?
I thought it was awesome. Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I had you guys in my ears while I was trying to work on it, and I thought maybe that would help me. I think it more distracted me than anything else. But it sounded really exciting.
Sorry about that.
We'll recommend folks to put us on mute or something, and we communicate with the private chat so that way we're not driving you guys insane. But we're figuring out what technology works and what doesn't. John, I'll come back to you here. I see you're on mute, but John, what'd you think, man? You came close. You were this close.
Yeah, it was fun. It was my first FlowFest as a competitor, so you definitely didn't know what to expect. But it was interesting scenarios. I think they are pretty accurate in terms of the real world, what you'll receive for requirements. So yeah, Yeah, definitely interested in seeing the actual solution, because I know there's probably a couple different ways. I try to avoid doing too many loops and trying to use the collection filter and sort functions, but I haven't used the collection sort a whole bunch, so that one was, I think, what was throwing me off there with the wrong number.
Yeah, so the collection sort is an interesting one, and where you use your collection sort may screw up your numbers, and that's an interesting one that you have to be aware of. And it's kind of the reason why we have to give credit to Michelle Hansen, because this was originally her challenge. We've adapted it for FlowFest. Let me see if I can share my tab. So this is how I've built it. This by no means like I've had all the time in the world to build it, so it's don't take this as but for everyone that's curious here, and I zoom in a little bit. All right, let's just do it this way. So some of the interesting things, at least for us, so we use the sort functionality, but I use the sort at the end and before you assign some counts. So one of the things that I saw was a common mistake was, if you try to run the sort, if you run the sort and you filter, or you take all the records. So for example, here, you have to set the maximum number of items. That'll unlike the filter element, which I think we all use a lot more frequently, the filter element creates a whole new collection. The sort will actually have the original collection. So it'll remove everything else out. And that was one of the interesting things that we're curious. We saw some folks use kind of like a fake loop, or use a decision element in a loop to kick it off once you hit 5. There were a couple of interesting things that were there. We'll be recording a video for everyone, taking our time to explain and kind of go after some of the best practices in some of the different ways, so that way even the participants, if they want to take a stab at it and understand and learn a little bit, right, or the spectators, they get a chance to do so as well.
And how long did it take you, Eric?
It's an unfair question, isn't it? Because I knew the challenges, I knew what we were looking for.
53 minutes. No.
So is it relevant really? Because I mean,
no, not really. Well, for the record, I'm probably the slowest of the bunch. So that's fine.
I'll say this. When I get really motivated and I'm just feeling the mojo, and I can go and build a really cool flow really fast. The very idea that someone would be scrutinizing me, let alone live streaming me, would immediately just tank my performance. And I remember for I don't know if it was V3 or V2, Eric and I tried to race on one because we were trying to determine if it was fair to fit into the time box. And I know I could have done that faster. I definitely could have done it less sloppy. So I really like how the fact that you're under the gun adds this complete element of chaos to it. And, it's not so much a measurement of only your skills as a flow builder, but also how do you perform under pressure.
Right, because now you're prepared for when your CEO walks in and wants you to build a flow right next to them. They need it right now. So you're building up that stamina.
All right, I'm bringing in also.
Yeah, these folks
I'm bringing in Yumi. These folks were super cool, by the way.
Yeah, I would like to congratulate Simon for winning it. So now I can change my title to be the only FlowFest champion that is not from France.
That's true. France has been showing everyone up. That's pretty funny. Guys, what y'all think? Keep coming with more comments. This is awesome. So everyone that's still watching, everyone that's still with us, let us know what you like. What are some of the things? But John, you came close. Adam, you came close as well. Hopefully, you guys will join us at the next FlowFest. We don't have the registration up yet for everyone as well, but the next FlowFest, I'll just say it right now, it's going to be on June 28th. So we'll be trying to focus on spring 23 activities there. But just as a quick heads up to everyone there as well. But yeah.
One thing I'll comment on, and I'm curious what everybody else thinks, but there's definitely some advantages for being up to date with the release notes and with the latest version, right? Because I don't know if we actively try to slip some of the new features in, but I'll say that if you do know the new features and you're up to date with it, they can help you skip over some steps that were previously took a lot of time. So I'm curious about, the participants, if you ended up using new features and if they helped you go through and kind of, get even this far, which is really great.
Yep. So guys, final thoughts. I mean, building on Warren, if you want to throw in thoughts to Warren, and just final thoughts as we wrap up here, as we get to the half-hour mark.
Yeah, for anybody watching at home, nothing's perfect. Everything's iterative. If you have, suggestions or feedback for how this process can improve, spam Eric, and we'll can't guarantee your idea is going to make it. Happy to hear it.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, again, we're doing this for spectators, right, as well. So we want this. This is a fun competition. And we hope to make this an educational event at its core. So for us, it's important. So whatever you guys have, keep it coming. Melody, what do you got? You're on mute.
Yeah, I think we can ask the audience how they like this structure, because I think it's super cool to have someone building the flows right on the screen. This is the most exciting part for me for the whole event. So definitely this is something that we can continue work on, or maybe strengthen, things like that.
Since Ben isn't here, is now a good time that we make the recommendation to just do a continuous head-to-head, just an ongoing head-to-head for the whole competition?
That might be a bit too much.
But hey, send us y'all's feedback, right? Let us know how you liked the head-to-head challenge on its own. If this was helpful, right, to the spectators. So we'll do one or two more. Anybody else that wants to put a final thought just before we wrap up?
Controversial thought. Description should be mandatory. Those are my parting words. Yeah.
On a competition, you're going to put people to put description. That's really putting emphasis on description. Be like.
Well, that means we're going to get a lot of dashes, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like periods, just there.
Period dash.
Or just copy pasting. Here's a description. All right. Any final thoughts? All right. Well, guys, I appreciate everyone. I appreciate all the judges. I appreciate all the competitors. The top four, recognizing your top four: Adam, Simon, John, Simone from Italy. He couldn't stay to have a conversation with us. Appreciate all the spectators and especially folks at Salesforce. I cannot thank these guys enough for helping us put this together. Folks at Salesforce Ben for helping organize, as well as Salto for helping sponsor. Y'all's registrations is what helps us make the case for companies like Salesforce, Salto, Trailhead Academy to be able to help us. These are the numbers. It's the strength in numbers. We really appreciate all the support that you guys give us. So we hope to be able to take as much as we can from your feedback, your thoughts, your comments, to be able to come back bigger and better to eventually crown the 4th French FlowFest champion in June. So guys, from all of us, thank you, everyone. We really appreciate you. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.
Cool.